Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Being Healthy live stream. Wonderful to have you all here today. Thanks for showing up for this art of walking away. I am trusting that you will really take part in this piece. Make sure that you know you can actually not just subscribe to the channel, but you can also get notifications if you go onto our YouTube channel and press the subscribe and then the notification bell. And we're going to go straight into this. Please add your own comments. We would glad to hear them and share them with our audience. And I am going to start with Phil. Phil, what for you is the art of walking away? And please unmute first. Thanks.
Oh, the art of walking away. Yes, it's choosing your battles, isn't it? And learning when something's worth standing up for, when something's worth just saying, this isn't for me, and it's time to walk away.
And what does that mean? This isn't for me. How do we know this?
For me, I get this feeling inside of my body that I'm learning to trust more and more, where I think lots of situations I find now just do I want to walk into it, or do I not want to walk into it, or do I walk into it and go, do you know what, I'm gonna walk away from this and leave this be where it suits other people.
So for you, it's a physical body. It's in your body. Is this correct? You feel this in your body?
Yeah, it's definitely a feeling within me.
Can you describe it, please? Because so many people are so confused and are not sure if this is it or not. And one of the things in our Being Healthy platform is to teach people that being healthy means actually being in touch with the physical body. So can you say exactly what it is you're feeling in your body when you know it's time to walk away?
Do you know what, Dorit? That's a really great question, because my girlfriend and I, we quite often have this conversation, and she feels things differently to me. And she says, well, how do you feel that, Phil? Where is it? What is it? Is it a voice in your head? Is it, oh, sorry, guys, I've been painting today and I couldn't get the paint off. Is it a voice that I hear that's talking to me, she asks, or is it a sensation? Like for me, it's mainly, I have to be really quiet and gentle with myself and stay as connected as I can, which isn't always easy. It's not always easy to do that in this world that we're living in at the moment, so I say. So I get a sensation, and probably actually now I've been talking it through, it's a gut feeling. Sometimes I kind of get it as a heart feeling, but often it's a gut feeling.
And you said something I think is really important. You said you've got to be gentle with yourself. Gentle. I think that is actually key. That you won't feel this and you won't recognize it unless you're being gentle with yourself. When you say gentle with yourself, what do you mean by that?
So a simple example is going to bed early, eating as cleanly as you can, eating as organically as I can, being aware of people that I'm in conversations with, and not only that, the type of conversations that I'm in and the type of conversations that I find myself allowing in. And then, how long do I stay? It's often about communication and what I'm talking about and how I'm talking about it. Because sometimes I can, Emily's great with me because she'll tug on me if she feels I'm getting a bit strong, what she calls strong in my presence. She'll just give me a little tug and tug me back in. And sometimes she'll be like, you're being a bit strong. And then I have to, find that gentle place, back, breathe, remind my body that it's safe and that I love it. And, sometimes I just say, stop, thank you, body. I love you, body. And that softens me.
Like that kind of partnership. I think that kind of partnership is exactly what we need when we have other people around us. Thank you for that, Phil. I'm going to now bring in Pete. How would you define the art of walking away?
Hi, Dory. Hi, Phil. Really nice to be here. There's so many levels to this. It's been interesting since you mentioned it a few days ago. Wake up early hours in the rising, and it runs through my mind here and there, not too much. So there's so many levels. I observe things the way over the last 19 years, really surrendered to a voice, a connection I always had and I didn't realize I had, or I realized I had buried on and off from the age of 16. So by rekindling that connection, it's following that inner voice. And for me, I find it goes such against the mainstream. So I can express certain times that have been heart-wrenching, heart-wrenching and, holding on. So I can give the emotion and, I've been in the drama because our imprinting, our conditioning, our surroundings generally are very attached and dramatized. So from 19 years ago, I would say I made a vow with myself from a certain wake-up call to keep that connection first and foremost. So whatever ever has happened in the 19 years, whatever kind of view or observation I would want to put on it, or anyone else does, I know I was always there. So that's first and foremost. So my actions, they can organically unfold because the character or what we should do, our belief systems, this is what I would do, this is what he would do, this is what we should do, this is what we should do, etc., is, not listening to that, just staying connected. And hopefully from that, when you say, even if hopefully we come to the most wisest, say, manifestation of that. However, to me, it's being perfect to myself, honest to myself. Now that can be judged by others, but when you have a connection, when you really go back and resolve the inner battles, the inner wars, the inner discord, then you get that connection back, or maybe you never knew it, but you can get this connection. So for me, it's an outward reflection of our inner stories, our inner battles. And I could use the word, if we're going to engage, at least it's going to be from a conscious point of view. So at least I can choose, and then comes the question, who am I defining as I? So then that goes back to the connection. And then someone can say, well, what do you mean connection? And, it's just like, well, I may have to hang out with that person for a bit to show them where they were once connected, some of the stories they may have shown me. And I say, well, you remember that time? A lot of the times going back, we might be people on ayahuasca or certain psychedelic experiences or certain traumatic experiences that have took them to a certain space, could be a close death. So how do you sustain that? This was an art, and we mentioned the art of walking away. So on a level,
Pete, I must interrupt you. Pete, I'm interrupting you because there's a noise of a baby in the background, and it is actually interfering with your audio and also the visuals with you. Is there any way
Sure.
that you could
It's,
either
it's,
close off the door or window and just make this a little bit
yeah.
more quieter so that we can all hear you and
Yes.
see you
So,
too?
yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Can you see me okay? Anyway, yes.
No,
So,
no,
yeah,
you're frozen. So we need to have you have to be in a room where it's just completely just you, and also that there's no interference going on, because right now you see you're gone. Because so that's the problem. Yes. So we can hear you. Can you go ahead, please? I think you're back. Okay, I'm going to bring on Lisa. Lisa, can you come on,
okay.
please, and
Okay.
explain to us, Lisa, exactly what you feel for you? How would you define the art of walking away? And please just unmute yourself, because I muted you when you came on. There was noise coming from your background too.
Okay.
Thank you.
My goodness, we're a noisy bunch today. I want to talk about, from my perspective, this entire topic lit me up because I tend to get very attached to things and hold on to things. And I have really been learning that there is a lot of power in walking away. And I'm walking away from habits. I'm walking away from beliefs. I'm walking away from energy that doesn't serve me. And while there is grief in going through that for me, on the other end of it is this opportunity to really expand. Because we're all in a rental in life. So none of this is coming with us. And I'm really learning that it's important there's peace in closing doors. There's a lot of peace that comes from that, because keeping a door half open with the idea that, maybe if I fiddle with the doorknob, or maybe if I, kind of move the furniture around, someday I'll go through that door again. And I have kind of practiced that a little bit in my life, stayed on too long with things. And, I'm the eternal optimist, but there is peace and clarity with walking away, with really feeling gratitude for what I've learned or how it served me on some level or protected me, and knowing that I can move more freely in the world when I learn to practice this art of just letting go and walking away. And that's a beautiful thing.
I like this fiddling with the doorknob. I think a lot of us think if we fiddle with the doorknob long enough, the door itself, another door will open. So we don't have to close one. We don't have to close that one because another one will open, but actually everything is really up to us. So thank you for that. Also, if you look at on the screen, you'll see that our guest last week, Kimberly May. Hi, Kimberly. She says here to the question of when I asked Phil, what would being gentle with oneself mean? Kimberly says, surrender. So I'm going to ask you the same question. What does being gentle with yourself mean for you? So you can walk away.
Or is this for me to read?
Yes, Lisa, I'm sorry. Yes.
I just wanted to make sure. What does being gentle with myself mean? Was that the question?
Being gentle. Yes. As just if you look at the screen, you'll see Kimberly wrote, be gentle with yourself, surrender. Yes.
First of all, I just love it. The whole be gentle with yourself. I think it's softening for me. It's unpacking all of the extraneous emotional energy attached to the overthinking, the overanalyzing, and really giving myself love and security, and knowing that I can move safely in the world. I don't need to cling to things anymore, that I am protected, really talking to my nervous system. I loved what Kimberly did last week with just the hands, and I've been doing that. Um, just really making myself feel safe, because I think that's part of why we cling to things. It's like we want to hold on to, it's like I imagine life as being out in the ocean, right? And it's interesting how a lot of times we feel like we got to cling to the buoy, cling to it, because if I let go, I'm going to drown, or I'm going to get eaten by a shark, or whatever the story is that we tell ourselves. But when we trust in the fact that we can float, and if the waves come, we'll learn how to adapt to that and not try to predict what this means. There is so much peace that comes in that. Just knowing, like, I think it's really about trusting, and for me, for trusting in a higher power, not trying to turn this into my survival or my needs, but knowing that there is something greater that has me taken care of on some level, and I relax into that, even when the water gets rocky, even when things feel uncertain, even when I don't know. There is a really beautiful thing that happens when we loosen our grip and we just move. And all sorts of adventures await, but they're not going to come to us if we're trying to hold on to doors that no longer need to be open anymore. And I think part of it is just really saying, okay, thank you for what you taught me. Thank you for everything. Feeling that gratitude, even if it was an unhealthy thing that we are clinging to. And because obviously attachments can be that, right? And so knowing that when we close the door, and I found this in life, when the door has been closed, how many beautiful things can come our way. Like, it can be truly magical.
Yes, and one of the things that I want to remind everybody about is the topic today. We're discussing the art of walking away with Lisa, Phil, and Pete, and myself. So this is what the topic is. If you'd like to join in, feel free to do so. And what I'd like to do is come back to Pete. And Pete, we can see much clearer now. Oh, this is a big difference, the clarity. So I'm going to go back to the question that Phil had said, the way that before he can walk away, or he knows it's time to walk away, is when he's being gentle with himself. And one of the things he said when I asked, what does being gentle with yourself mean? He says, going to sleep early. Does that resonate with you?
Well, there's the whole package, I feel, and in terms of, I would say, yeah, being gentle with your thoughts and with your actions, and whatever else you do with what food you put in your body. I mean, sometimes if you consciously take yourself to extremes, be conscious of it. For instance, ice bath and sauna, cold therapy, cold and hot therapy. So someone could say, well, that's not being kind on yourself. However, there's a protocol and a reason behind that. But constantly being in a fight or flight is very wearing on the body. So being gentle, going to sleep early, eating early, not consuming too much. And we mentioned surrender, walking away is going to be an art for each individual. So it's an really interesting topic, and it can cover so much, and it can go into much more metaphysical as well. Once again, I am going to state that everything is an outward reflection of our inner reality. So that's really embedded in me. So coming from that perspective, and then having protocols, if I am let's just say my peace is getting disturbed, my inner reality, I will use certain protocols to go more within. And it's so divine what can come up, you know. You can see why we don't go there, really, you know. Let's different separations. If we want to keep in the blame, keeping, you know, or feeling guilty, whatever it may be. Like I reiterate, 19 years ago, I choose to make a pact with that self of mine and prioritize that amongst everything else. And that's quite a commitment, because that is really like going against the grain, because I'm going to say there's not too many people connected in a certain way. And we all will acquiesce in some shape or form to potential things that aren't serving us. Apologies for that. Serving us as good as we would like. But yes, of course, surrender and being kind to yourself. Acceptance, you know, acceptance. For me, I've been shown many things. I use my protocols, and I'm shown there I was at 3. That's associated with this certain incidents that was, you know, in my 40s, or that I've got stuck in. So another time, 7, all different times of different shocks in my body. So that's what I was shown. So to me, it's just like, why would I want to go back to that addiction? Because the seed of it has been released, integrated, comforted, whatever words we would like to use. So, or light has been brought to that potential darkness, potential shadow. Doesn't mean all our shadows are gone and all our darkness are gone, whatever. That's just a man-made conception. And we obviously wise to not get too caught up in these tricks.
So Pete has been frozen again in time. So while he's frozen, I will get back to what we've been talking about here. So one of the things I find interesting actually, is that some people get caught up in grieving relationships. They actually spend their life just grieving a relationship. Their whole life is around grieving relationship. How does one walk away from that? When does one know it's time to walk away from grieving a relationship? I'm going to go first to you, Phil. Have you been in that situation? If not, how would you deal with somebody who's doing that you really cared about? And remember to unmute yourself, please. Thank you.
Yes. Do you know what, Dorit, that's a really timely question, because as you know, I shared with you I couldn't be on last week because I was doing a vision quest. And when I was going out to do the vision quest, you know, I was really kind of apprehensive and a bit scared, and I couldn't understand what all the feelings were that were coming up inside my body. And I'll cut a long story short here. So I got to my spot, and the thing that really, after I'd set up and got myself comfortable and set the energies, the thing that really surprised me was I just started sobbing and crying. And this was last Wednesday. And I was really shocked at the level of grief that was in my body and what I was actually grieving. And that really surprised me. So I was grieving a lost relationship with myself. And the thing that came up for there was, at a very young age, I'd focused on what was wrong in my life. And I'd stayed in that relationship with what was wrong and how hard done by I'd been, or, you know, whatever the story was. And I hadn't realized. So I'd spent 52 years or something in this story that I'm not even sure was true or not. Because when I actually rationally now go back through the story, it's like, well, I don't think that was even true. So it's really interesting. And that's a relationship that I had with myself. So I put myself, unbeknownst to me, in a situation where I couldn't hide from it at all. And the time was right. And it didn't take long to process it. Probably, I don't know, half an hour, processed it out. And now I have to be gentle with myself and remember that to choose where I focus.
I'm so glad you brought up the Vision Quest, because I was going to actually suggest doing a Vision Quest as one of the tools to use in really helping one walk away. So would you say that this Vision Quest really assisted you in so much clarity that you're in a place now where you can actually walk away from actually grieving the loss of the relationship with yourself, or you come to terms with the fact that you did lose a relationship with yourself, and will give you an opportunity now to actually gel your whole life and melt and bring your whole life into a vision where you are center. So the only real relationship that you ever really value is the one with yourself, because when we value the relationship with ourselves, then we value all other relationships automatically. And I have always felt that when people hold on and grieve relationships, what they're really grieving is the fact they've never had a relationship with themselves, or in that particular relationship, they did lose themselves. And therefore, that's what they're really grieving, but they focus on the person instead that they think they're missing, when in truth, it's really ourselves that we're missing. And Lisa, I'm going to bring you in here on this. Thank you for that, Phil. And Phil, I'm going to come back to you all as well in a moment for something else that you said. But Lisa, please come on in here.
First of all, I'm so curious about the Vision Quest. It sounds deeply intriguing. And what you said, Dorit, about, we're grieving the loss of a relationship with ourselves. When we think we're grieving other people, we're really grieving, because if we're attached to other people, we've been missing out on the fullness of the experience of having that deep relationship with ourselves, because we're the one constant. And a lot of times we tend to direct our energies outward, thinking that will fill our cup. And certainly relationships have meaning and are a part of the joy of life, and part of the opportunities to grow in life. But so all of that, I was just reflecting, because I was thinking about relationships, and I was thinking about one that was very central to my life and pivotal. It was between the ages of 18 to 28. I was in a relationship with somebody that was the first true love of my life, and it was not a healthy relationship. This person really had some challenges, and of course I did too, because I was in that relationship. And I remember I couldn't imagine ending the relationship. My identity was so fused into us as a couple that I couldn't even imagine being alone. And the signs had been there for so long that I needed to end the relationship. And I just, of course, clung on. And I remember when I finally left the relationship, I had my first massage of my life. And I never had a massage before. And I was lying on the table, and I was just dazed from leaving this relationship. And this woman said, "Are you familiar with Reiki?" And I wasn't. I had never heard about it. And so at that point, I saw this bird that was trapped in oil, and just burdened and just heavy. And this bird started to work its way out of the water. And as the bird began to rise, the oil was leaving its body, and it was just beautiful, white and magnificent and free. And at that point, I just said, "Oh my God, I'm going to be good. I can fly again." And it's interesting how you think, oh, I could never do this, I could never leave this, and how my life expanded in infinite ways as a result of that. And I was at that point missing that relationship with myself, and I had always painted it like this person was the challenge. In reality, I was a part of that equation, and I have a lot of healing and growing to do. And so if anybody is listening and they're in something that isn't healthy for them, whether it's a job, people can get stuck in dynamics that aren't healthy for them, or a relationship, or there is an opportunity when you unclench your grip, when you soften and you just allow yourself to walk away.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned jobs, because I think one of the unhealthiest relationships I've ever seen in people's lives have been the relationship with their jobs, and also with co-workers and the people who are in charge. I find that's a huge issue and a huge problem. I'm going to go back to Phil because I said I would. Phil, can you explain what a vision quest is? Because this is something that a lot of men do, but I find that not a lot of women are doing.
So the Vision Quest is to my knowledge, primarily a Native American ritual. So basically, you go out into nature. What we did, we went out into the forest, and you get led by that feeling in your gut, and you come to an area in the forest where you think, right, this is my spot, and then you create a space about 12 feet in diameter. And so the idea is you leave your comfort at home. So I tried to make myself as comfortable as I could without it being distracting. So not overly comfortable. And then in that 12-foot circle, in the UK, it's about 4 meters. That's what I chose, about a 4-meter circle. And you enter it, you lock up your sacred space, and you stay there for 3 days and 3 nights, so 72 hours. You don't leave the circle, and you pray as hard as you can for 72 hours on water. And I did the first 30 hours of dry fasting, and it was so hot that I decided that I was struggling to pray and not have any water in my body. So after 30 hours, I decided to drink water. So then I did a water fast for the rest of the 72 hours. And the plan is you're supposed to stay awake. I didn't. I was a little bit gentle with myself. So I stayed awake as much as I could and slept as I needed, and prayed and I've never prayed so much. I don't think I've prayed so much in my entire life as I did in those 3 days for myself, my family, my friends, the world, you name it. 72 hours is quite a lot of time to think about things to pray about. And that's basically what a vision quest is. The thing I found out afterwards is it can take up to 10 years to unravel the learnings and the consciousness that you get from a vision quest with that level of intent.
Yes, it does. Yeah, very much so. Thanks for telling us about this. So Native Americans, if you're ever in the United States or in Canada or in Latin America, Central America, the Native people have very much indulged in vision quests on a regular basis. And there are specific tribes in the United States, and I think also in Canada, that have sweat lodges as part of that as well. And usually you do not mix the sexes. You have one for men, a separate one for women, which I really, really like. And they're all different. With Phil's, there was this fasting for 3 days, and so it doesn't necessarily mean you have to have a fast, but it depends. You need to really go to the tribes and ask them, what kind of vision quest do you have? Do you allow outsiders to come in? Because you might not. They might not allow you to come in. You're not a native, and you might come in and cause quite a raucous and disrupt the vision quest. So you need to really ask them. However, I really recommend, if you're having a problem walking away from anything in your life, whether it is your job, a person, whether you have a problem walking away from illness. A lot of people, all they know and the only thing they're familiar with is being sick. And for them to be healthy is too much. They don't have the energy, nor can they visualize being healthy, because that's all they know. And so they just constantly are ill. And they use that as a tool to feel alive. Whether you need to walk away from your present home, of having a home, because the only thing that you knew, it was your parents' home, and it's now you feel it's a burden now, but you cannot because you think you want to do it because of your family, of your, your parents. They inherited from their parents, and now it's yours. If you feel like you need to walk away from your present career and start a new one, and that's very fearful for you because you don't know how you're going to manage financially, and not just financially, but even emotionally, to start all over again in a career, whether you need to start walking away from your own dreams. Maybe your dreams, what's taking you astray? Maybe you need to reconstruct, and a vision quest is marvelous for looking at the dreams that you have in your head about your life and about yourself. Vision quest, I strongly suggest, if you're having a problem with that, about your own vision of yourself and your own dreams or your own identity. Some people hold on to their identities, and it may, when it's time to walk away from that identity that no longer serves you, how do you know? That's when vision quests are very helpful. And then a lot of us have a corrupted version of life itself. What is life? Some people think the way to walk away is to commit suicide. No, they're not in the least. It's the very opposite, as a matter of fact. That's enmeshing yourself more into the mess. And then you're bringing on new messes too, which you're going to have to deal with at some point, even if you're not in your body anymore. And then we need to also learn to walk away from the person that we once were. We need to learn to walk away from the person that we once were, rather than hanging on and realizing that that person doesn't, or that version of yourself doesn't serve you anymore. Marvelous to go to a vision quest and help to let go of that. When you need to let go of the future that you thought you were going to have, the future doesn't exist, and yet so many of us are taught, and it's ingraining us to think about our future and to always focus on the future, when it's the last thing we need to focus on, because we have a present, and that's all we need to do, is to focus on being in the present. And that's when Phil said that 72 hours can be a very long time to process all this. It might be, but a whole lifetime not going to the vision quest or not doing the things that you really want to do is even longer. So I want to bring in Pete on this. Have you ever done a vision quest, Pete?
I've never done a vision quest per se. However, what it reminds me of is getting up basically 5, 6 a.m. religiously. I'd say probably out of 12 years, 11 years, every rising, hot sauna or ice bath first, hot sauna, ice bath, hot sauna. Actually 6 years with the ice bath. So, and I can only, you can only imagine that if you do that, in terms of what space you get into. Even before that, I find my awakenings around 4 or 5 very, should I say, kind of like a vision quest, because I ask people, I query people, because a lot of people at festivals have done many different things, and it's a lot of what I realized I have done. Someone could say, yeah, but you haven't done a vision quest. And it sounds amazing, and I would not say, I would suggest, like you, yes, do as many different things to really work through and clear as much old debris as we can. And so once you hit that space, you know, it's a really interesting space. Personally, I slow it down. You know, I do breath work. I slowed it down because on a level, it's just too out of the box for many people. So out of the box. So I look back on life and how I've conformed. And I use the phrase, you can't beat them, you join them. So again, from 19 years ago, I made a pact with myself. I keep bringing the 19 years ago. Why? Because I was shown it was a very safe wake up call. So I can just play my dig for 30 minutes or an hour or do breath work, and I hit a very interesting space. I have mentioned some places that when I was 17, I did about a year and a half, maybe 2 years of these groups, which was introduced to breath work, astrology, daily diary, dream work, meditation. So it didn't make much sense then. Again, when I truly slowed down 19 years ago and actually surrendered, we use that word, then a lot of it made sense. So we're all at different levels and we all have different attributes and a consistency, makeup, blueprint. So for me, I do see it it's very relevant for me to kind of lock down until I had all the right tools to be able to just sit here and voice out what I'm voicing and to stand more connected to who I am, because there's so much peer pressure, you know, and there's so much against you. If, for instance, Dory, you mentioned one time you moved to California and someone came and saw you and she was going on about her back and you said, yeah, but what is your problem? And she went on about her back, but you said, yeah, what's your problem? And then, so people don't like the truth. So that person, from what I remembered, says, I'm going to make sure you don't do any more work in this city, you know? So unfortunately, there's a lot of self-hate that gets projected out. So you find yourself maybe not expressing as authentically, me going back in retrospect, as what I automatically saw. So these days, I still edit, of course. We still edit. We be compassionate. But then compassionate's a whole nother topic. So yeah, that's part of my story. So it's connecting and being truthful to myself. Everyone's at different levels to be truthful to themselves, and that's their perfection. Mine is very much like, it's like picking up the phone line. I'll only pick it up when I need to. Otherwise, there's much busyness going out there and going on out there. And once again, it's all an outward reflection, even I'm using words here, of our inner story. And I've been shown so much, and it's so beautiful. But even me saying that, it can trigger people's egos, you know, and it's unfortunate that we have these imprinting and programs where, for instance, you know, someone's done a weekend or someone's done a year or 2 years in a certain protocol, and they're really pumping it out there and then taking people on that course, where there's people who might hit some more traumatic energy that they can't deal with. And I've seen it time and time again. So it's energy, you know, is a person's certain energy going to come up in a person that you haven't dealt with? And then basically you can see why people want to stay in their illnesses. You see why people do certain protocols that really can be amazing, but also can be like just giving people lollipops. So, you know, I suppose that's all I can say. But having fun. So hopefully I don't sound too serious.
Yes. So I want to thank you for saying that. I actually think that compassion is very much a part of walking away, as part of the art of walking away. But the problem is that it's compassion for oneself, and we've not been taught how to be bring compassion to our own lives. I want to bring up something on the screen right now. And I'm going to read this. It's from Jung, who said, your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens. So I'm going to leave it up on the screen if anybody wants to write this down, because this is really, really important in my opinion. I'm going to go back again also to Phil, because this has everything to do with that vision quest, Phil. You said at the beginning you did not want to drink water, so you did not drink water. What was the difference in your experience of the vision quest when you did not drink the water and when you did? Because the body has everything to do with our mind. Our mind is our body, the body is the mind, and they're not separate. So I would like you to tell me what was the difference for you when you didn't drink the water and when you drank it in your experience at the Vision Quest.
Yeah, thanks, Street. That's a really great question. So for me, I prefer dry fasting because I just find it easier. The hunger goes away straight away. I find with on water it's more difficult, and when I'm dry, I don't get any of the symptoms of not eating, and my body's much more peaceful. The challenge really to answer that question is, I was 30 hours into Vision Quest, so lots was changing and lots was processing. That is a great question. Actually, I was just trying to take myself back to that moment of
would you like some time to think about? Would you like some time to think about it and then come back and speak about it?
That would be great. I just process that a little bit.
Great. Okay, so we will do that then. So Lisa, I'm going to bring you on, and I'm going to be, and what I would like you to think about is, if you had to make a decision, and I'm sure you have in your life several times, I know you had in that particular relationship of which you spoke, you needed to develop the art of walking away. How would compassion be part of that art?
I think, excuse me, I want to really address what you just asked. How would compassion be a part of that art? Compassion for myself is understanding that emotions are going to rise, even second guessing, right? And it's okay to be uncertain. It's okay to feel sad. Being okay with all of the emotions that come up when we walk away, because I think sometimes people think, oh, I'm going to feel so good when I leave this, or I'm going to feel conversely so sad when I leave this. And there really, it isn't black and white. So many different emotions can come up. And I think it's understanding that it's okay to feel vulnerable. It's okay to feel things that maybe we didn't expect. It's okay. It's okay. And being safe in the certainty that life is uncertain. And there really isn't one way or to do anything in life. I think that's what's interesting about it. There are a multiple amount of choices in every moment. And I think it's the uncertainty that brings up a lot of stuff for people, because you know what you're leaving, you experience that. And then the uncertainty of what your life is going to look like when you leave that can sometimes bring up definitely bring up a lot of stuff. And so having compassion for not only myself, but also if I'm leaving another person, having compassion for them too. You know, maybe they might be angry. Maybe they might be disappointed. Maybe they, might be indifferent, and it's okay. It's okay. Being compassionate is really important.
Thank you for that. So I asked each of my co-hosts what was their definition of the art of walking away. So I'll put my definition up on the screen. So the art of walking away is the quiet surrender of choosing your intrinsic life-enhancing powers over fixing what you fear. I'm going to repeat it. The art of walking away is the quiet surrender of choosing your intrinsic life-enhancing powers, which we all possess, over fixing what you fear. And I'm going to also put up another quote that I have from my book, Being Healthy. This walking away, the art of walking away, means leaving a job, person, or a habit when it harms your body. When Phil started to speak, he talked about the physical body. This always is, how do you know when to walk away? It's in your physical body. You do not walk away out of hate. You do not walk away out of pride. You do not walk away out of fear. You leave the job, the person, the dream, the vision, because you recognize your own intrinsic worth. And your own intrinsic worth has nothing to do with anything on the external. It means you start the inward work. So why walking away matters stops that cycle. We have a chance now to break old habits of pain and stress, which have been handed down from generation to generation, of how to handle things in life with which we feel no compassion. When we walk away, the art of walking away builds self-respect. This is the most important thing. Most of us go through life without an iota of self-respect, or very teeny bit amount. The art of walking away helps us to build self-respect. It shows that we value our own body. Now, you might ask me, but I'm only leaving my job. How does that show that I value my own body? Because everything is processed in your body. All the illnesses, all the diseases, all the times you felt exhausted and tired, it's stuff that is poisoning your, especially at work. And I hear people a lot say, oh, but when I'm at work, I'm always exhausted and tired. When I'm not there, I'm not. Look, I go on vacation, all of a sudden I don't feel sick anymore. You've been poisoning yourself by staying in a situation that no longer serves you. And it's maybe the time to learn to practice the art of walking away. When we practice the art of walking away, we also clear the noise of everything in our head that we think people are saying about us or are telling us, or the noise of mainstream media who tells us how to live and are poisoning our minds. The art of walking away lets us hear our own true thoughts again. And for some of us, we've never heard our true thoughts since we were children. When you walk away, the cost to your mental health, the safety and self-worth consistently outweighs any potential for change if we stay in that place. If you have communicated your needs, set boundaries, and give much effort before you make the decision to walk away, then you know that it's probably time to practice the art of walking away. Walking away is staying in the place is harmful when the cost to your mental health, your safety, and your self-worth consistently outweighs any potential for change. It's right here below. You can see it below. I put it here below. If you, in any situation, you've communicated your needs, they've still not been met. You've set clear boundaries, they're ignored, and you've given much effort to solving the issue, then it's time to practice the art of walking away. If you're constantly depleted, if you feel chronically drained, if you feel anxious every time you go to work, or you get up in the morning, or you feel exhausted rather than supported in any kind of relationship, whether it's the relationship at work, relationship with your parents, relationship with your co-workers, relationship with others, it's time to practice the art of walking away. If others disregarded your boundaries, If you have disregarded your own boundaries, if you've disregarded your core needs, if you've disregarded your own limits, and requests for basic respect are ignored, then it's time to practice the art of walking away. So I want our co-host to sum this up, 1 minute for each person, starting with Phil. Phil, I said I'd come back to you so you can let us know exactly how you felt the difference between when you were drinking the water during the vision quest and when you were not.
Okay, as quick as I can. So yeah, I just fell into that and backtracked through it. And I reckon I was more peaceful and more present, because there's just one less thing to take into consideration, which is the thing with when you're doing anything else. It's like, oh, do I need any water? Will I drink it now? Oh, no, I'll leave it a bit longer. Or how much do I have? Have I had enough? Do I need some more? So there's kind of a constant, not so much constant, but you know what I mean? There's this other processing going on. Whereas once I made up my mind that I was going to be dry, that's it. It's then when you listen to your body and you think, well, I was feeling, oh, I'm getting really dry, and it's really hot. So, you know, and there was that time to process and be sensible with myself.
Thank you for that. It seems also that not drinking the water was a distraction.
Drinking the water was the distraction. Not drinking it gave me one less thing to think about.
Yes. Whether to drink or not to drink was the distraction. Yes.
Yes.
So thank you. So Pete, 1 minute, sum up, please. Summation. Thank you.
Yeah. So if some of them things are happening on the outside, it's the reflection of the inside. So I really aspire to think, right, it's like our fairy godmothers, you know, they're trying to get through, or the universe, the divine energy's energy. So if someone's so-called, I believe, disrespecting me, this, etc., that, then really I have to go in, and what's unfolded really is where I'm not being either authentic to myself. And like you mentioned, it takes people years about learning self-love. And, you know, some of these words, healthy boundaries, etc., it's like, wasn't in my reality. So really wise to go in and use whatever protocol you can and look at when you're your most happiest, and how can you recapture that, you know, from a healthy perspective without chemicals, you know. And we can do it because there's many people who are prime examples of doing that. So dance, sing, whatever it is, bring back in these beautiful, joyful moments, creativity, get the energy moving.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Lisa, you've got 1 minute to wrap up, please.
I loved your quote, Dorit, about choosing your intrinsic life enhancing powers over fear. I think that's just such a juicy way to look at walking away. And I think the central to this entire discussion is a very good question also. What if walking away isn't the end of something, but the moment you finally stop walking away from yourself?
Brilliant. Love it. So walking away can actually mean walking towards yourself. Lovely. Thank you so much. And I love the idea of walking away being juicy. Thanks, everyone. Please share this so that others can have an opportunity to really begin to look at their own lives and start practicing the art of walking away. So join us again next week, same time, same place. Thanks to all my co-hosts. See you next week. Bye now.